Today we're gonna make a family favorite. It is known as Swiss steak. If you haven't had this one before, you are in for a treat. We always go over the ingredients on this show, and this dish, Swiss steak, is a Switzerland classic. It is one of the most important dishes that the Swiss have. It's a joke. This is not from Switzerland, it's from America. And I actually thought it was from Switzerland the whole time, and I never made it for a long time. When I finally started researching it, Swiss steak refers to this tool that they would use for beef to Swiss the beef to make it tender. You can use the tenderizing side of your mallet to Swiss it. Basically, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a London broil or a top round, okay, they're the same beef. I have 2 pounds of it, and you can actually see the price there, $8 a pound. We're gonna cut it into a bunch of pieces, and we're gonna flatten it, we're gonna tenderize it, and then we're gonna coat it in flour, season it really well, sear it up. Just wanted to show you the cost of the meat here, which is again $8 a pound and is not, by far not the cheapest place where I bought it. This whole meal can be done for realistically about $20. So that is inexpensive. Okay, so before you jump in the comments and you're like, that's an expensive dish. No, this is actually a quarter the price of McDonald's for a meal for a family of 4. And this makes a lot, especially if you serve it with rice or mashed potatoes. I like to serve it with crusty bread. All right, let's go over the rest of the ingredients. After we sear that beef, we're gonna make just a simple sauce. We have 2 large onions that are chopped, 1 large carrot or 2 medium carrots that are chopped, and then 3 celery ribs that are chopped. We have 5 cloves of garlic minced, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 1 tablespoon of sugar, 28-ounce can of plum tomatoes. These are crushed. You can use whole plum tomatoes, just hand crush them or blend or pulse them. 1 1/4 cups of low sodium beef stock. That's pretty much all the ingredients. We're gonna use some oil to fry the steak. It looks very simple. It looks maybe like this isn't gonna turn into one of the best dishes you ever had, but you would be wrong. Let's make it now. Okay, so this is 2 pounds, a little bit more than 2 pounds. Recipe says you cut it up into 4 sections. I'm gonna cut this up into 8 sections. It makes it a lot easier, and after we pound it, you're gonna see that they still get pretty big. Okay, so let's just go like 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's hard, with a piece that's this large, like to pound it, it takes a lot of effort. So what I recommend you do is just take it like this, okay, and then just cut it in half. Okay, so like this, 2 pieces. All right, and then we'll pound them. We'll cut everything else into 2 pieces. I left 1 bigger piece. We'll make 1 big one, but so these are like the pieces that you'll be left with, like if you do what I did, if you divide it into 8 pieces. You put it on plastic wrap here. Before you do the plastic wrap, if you want, you could do it straight on your cutting board, and you can use the tenderizing side, but you really don't have to do this. When you're hitting it with the flat side and you're doubling the size of it, you are breaking everything down anyway, and you are tenderizing. You don't have to use the tenderizing side to actually tenderize it. When you're doing this, it's gonna break the fibers regardless. And the reason I'm doing it on this type of cutting board instead of doing it on a plastic cutting board is for feedback. And I'll show you, like say I don't wanna do that and I wanna go right for the tenderizing side. They actually sell steak that in the store, it's called cube steak, that has the Swissing done to it already.
Yes,
so that's
yeah.
like, it's like, looks like little squares on it. But if you use this too much, it's gonna rip it. You're better off with the flat side. I gotta do more than this though, this isn't enough. So that's pretty good. I wanna get it about 1/4 to 1/2 inch thick, or roughly 3 to 6 millimeters thick, okay? Like so, like this, all right? The big one I'll do next. Why are you using plastic? Why not just use it straight on the cutting board itself? Well, I did initially on the cutting board right now, I just did all of them with the tenderizing side, because this meat, this is hard to do, like just with the plastic. But when you get it to a certain level, if you keep doing this side, you're just gonna tear all the meat. Now the plastic itself on here on both sides is gonna keep everything together and allow you to flatten it. That's a perfect looking piece there that we got. And that's exactly what we're looking for, okay? Again, okay, that's 1 of 8 pieces or 1 of 7 pieces we have. And then I'll just finish the rest. Okay, so here's all the meat. My arm is a little bit tired, and it's possible yours will be too. Now listen, I just want to tell you, braciole, okay, we're using top round here. So braciole meat, in New York, New Jersey, it'll be labeled braciole meat, okay? Also, maybe if you live in Minnesota or someplace with a large German population, there might be something labeled rouladen meat, okay? Which is top round also you would use for it. But you don't have to use top round here. You can use any like other like tough meat, you know, that's like kind of inexpensive, and you can use that cube steak that they sell in stores, which will be totally fine for it as well. So this was the one big piece that we took. You can see how large this is. And I'll just do half of these at a time. I cleaned my cutting board thoroughly, so I don't want to put the meat back on there right now. I probably should have just left it and then did it secondly, but whatever. So I got 4 pieces here. These are the 2 big ones. That's the thing, like if you were to just follow it and, you know, if you have 2 pounds, cut it into only 4 sections and pound it out, you're gonna have these 4 massive steaks that are gonna take up like the whole entire pan. I have flour here. This is a half cup. We might need a little bit more. You possibly will need more depending on how thin you get your beef. The thinner you get your beef, the more flour you're gonna need because you have more surface area, okay? So I'm just gonna season with salt and pepper on both sides. If your meat is like very wet too, make sure you pat it dry. Okay, so look, see I'm just patting it here, turning it, patting it. You could put this all in a bag and shake it if you try, but these are large, so it's gonna be difficult to do that effectively. Just now, pat it off like this. Okay, we just want a very thin layer on here, like this. Okay, now I have parchment paper. Okay, parchment paper lined baking sheet. Just stick them here. By putting this on a parchment paper lined baking sheet, they're not going to stick it all, and it's going to allow us to take the time we need, a few minutes, to heat up our pan and whatnot. All right, I'm going to repeat with the rest. I'm going to heat this pan up to a touch more than medium heat. This is a non-stick pan I have. It's going to make it easier, but you can definitely use, you know, a stainless pan or cast iron if you like. I mean, who cares, right? This is avocado oil, which is perfect for as a neutral oil for frying here, though you can use olive oil if you like. All right, we're going to let this get nice and hot, nice and shimmering. I put too much oil in that pan, so what I did was I just poured it off, some of it off. Look how much I have there still, okay? You don't need that much there for this first part. So it's gonna take 3 batches worth. These steaks are tremendous. The less you pound them, you know, the thicker they are, the less surface area they're gonna take up. It's better to do it this way. Also, by doing it this way, your braising time won't be quite as long. Leave them alone, let them get nice color for about 3 or 4 minutes, then we'll flip them. Okay, there's something really nice about the sound of sizzling beef. See how beautiful that looks? Look at that. Ooh, beauty. Now, it's hard for me to flip because these are horrendous tongs. Get it? All right. Couple more minutes. Off to the side, and then repeat for the other batches. Okay, so just regulate your heat. You know, if you're too high, lower it a little bit. These have only been a couple more minutes, and just like, see how nice they look? Just gonna stick them off to the side in a pan. Okay, and then let's get more of them in. If you need a little bit more oil, feel free to add it. When you're putting in your beef, don't put it towards you. Just put it down like this and put this last part away from you, okay? Okay, I just lowered the heat a little bit. The beef is all out. There it all is. See how nice and brown all that is? Like, beautiful color. And by putting the flour on there, it gives it, the beef, when you sear it, a better crust. This oil's very hot here now. There's a lot of like the brownness from the beef. It's fine, you can keep using it. You don't have to like use a different pan or anything. I'm just gonna put the onions. Okay, this is 2 large onions that are chopped, not fine at all, okay? 3 celery ribs and 1 large carrot or 2 medium carrots, okay? Basically, we're filling up almost this whole entire 4-quart pan with these vegetables, okay? And I don't have that much oil left in here, so when I did that over pour before, I took some out, so I'm gonna put some in now again. You can switch up to olive oil at this point if you like. Olive oil is the best by far, like taste-wise and everything, but doesn't have as high a smoke point as some of these quote-unquote tasteless neutral oils. Okay, we're gonna put a pinch of salt on here too. That'll help draw the water out. If you cook this in a stainless pan and you have a bunch of something on the bottom of the pan, you can deglaze if you like. When you cook with a non-stick pan, all of your gets stuck to the meat more than the pan. You actually almost get better browning when you cook with a non-stick pan on the meat itself. Kind of weird how it works, because what happens is it's caramelization. A lot of that is being left on the bottom of your stainless pan or cast iron pan, versus here it's a non-stick, so it all just stays on the meat. I'm gonna let these cook for about 10 to 15 until they get very soft. If you want to speed up this process, you could turn up the heat a little bit and then just watch. You don't really want to burn this, okay? If it starts burning, lower the heat and or add a splash of water, okay? Stock, or wine. We're not using any wine in this dish today, so this is quite an unorthodox dish for sip and feast as well, I would say. Right, Tara?
Yeah.
I mean, wine will only make this better, but I think it's good not to put wine in some dishes every once in a while.
Yeah.
And almost every instance of Swiss steak, when I did my research, did not have wine in it. Okay, so this has been going for about 12 minutes. It could go longer. My onions are getting a little color on them, but it's fine. It's fine. We're not making an Italian dish, right? A couple times I just added a splash of water just to kind of like lower my pot temperature a little bit and keep everything sauteing nicely. But you can see how much I put in initially and how little I have now. Here's the garlic. This is 5 cloves that are minced. Okay, and if you feel like you're drying out and you need a touch more oil, you can add it, but you know, I'm telling you, the beef has a ton of fat in it, and when we put it back in there and we braise, there's gonna be a lot of liquefied fat going into our sauce. Okay, I'm gonna let this go for a couple minutes. Okay, so that's a couple minutes, everything's looking nice. I'm gonna put in 1 1/4 cups of that low sodium beef stock. I'm using better than bouillon, low sodium or reduced sodium beef base. Turn the heat to high. Remember, if you use a stainless pan or a cast iron, you will have lots of brown bits. You can use your flat edge of your wooden spoon to kind of dislodge them, and then they will go into your sauce. I'm just gonna bring this to a boil for about a minute or two. Now you can just kind of lower the heat a little bit, and here are the tomatoes. I'm gonna put them in. Just the remaining of the can here, you could just put a little bit of water in there to get the remaining bit. So we're gonna bring this to a simmer. Also, you can add in now your 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire. What's it here? I don't say it right. I don't care, you know? And the reason I don't care is because half of the people from Britain, they tell me to say it a different way. So like, what is there? Not even like agreement there how to say it? 1 tablespoon of sugar. It's kind of like how people here say things different. You know, some people say water, some people say water, okay? Like it's the same word.
Potato.
That's right. The other thing, I want to put in a teaspoon or more of coarse black pepper. I love the pepper in here. You can even just like take the peppercorns and smash them. All right, but a lot of pepper in here. Start with that much. All right, I want to bring this to a lively simmer right now, okay? Okay, that's nice. You can turn the heat now down to low, like a 2 or 3 out of 10, like very low like simmer we want. We can adjust final seasonings later, but let's just see how it is right now. Delicious already. I'm just gonna put a touch of salt in. And I am gonna put a little bit more pepper, okay? Even though I'm sneezing. So let's get all that beef back in there, that delicious beef. Okay, and then all the juices too. Okay, just get everything in there. All right, so I'm just gonna try to nestle everything in here. Cover it. I'm just gonna cook this over a low simmer for about 90 minutes to 2 hours until the beef is very, very tender. Every 30 minutes or so, just come in here. If any steaks are flipping up, just turn them over, give them some love on the other side, but everything's pretty much covered here. If at any point, because you might get some evaporation if you don't have a tight fitting lid, and you will get evaporation regardless. Have some water, okay? Just use that cup that you had your beef stock in, and then just, you know, you can add like a few ounces at a time just to loosen things up. What you don't want to happen is for it to start burning on the bottom, okay? Can you put this in the oven? The answer is yes, okay? 275 Fahrenheit to 300 Fahrenheit. It needs to be oven safe. I think this is, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna leave this on the stovetop. It's easier since I wanna flip them every once in a while. Okay, so it's been about 2 hours. I flipped it every 30 minutes roughly. I'm gonna turn this off. So a lot of fat's in the middle here. Take a piece, any piece like this. Just take your fork through it. Is the fork tender? Okay. You can kind of hold it. And then if you can just grab a piece off with your fork like I'm doing. See this how I'm like able to like kind of almost because I have plastic tongs, but I can kind of just pull the meat off like that. Okay, that's tender, very tender. Can you cook it longer? Absolutely. This has gone for about 2 hours, I would say, maybe 2 hours and 20 minutes. You can remove fat if you like. You can turn it off. It'll just come to the top in about 10 or 20 minutes. I'm not gonna do that. This amount of fat is fine. It's delicious. When you have a certain amount of fat, it tastes good. If you have too much fat, it'll get just, the mouthfeel will be off. It'll just be too overly fatty. Let's taste it though and season this up to our final seasoning before we bring the taste tester down. Sauce is super rich. Balance is perfect. Sugar is good. We put 1 tablespoon of sugar in here. Maybe a little bit more pepper.
You and that pepper today.
Well, it's
best friends.
It's really good with pepper, this dish. That's the thing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna give a nice piece for James. You can serve this over rice. You can serve it over mashed potatoes. You can serve it over egg noodles. he got upset right when he came down here. You wanted what with it?
Rice.
Rice?
I feel like rice is best for this, but I feel like the bread will be good too.
It doesn't really need a knife. It's tender enough where you could probably use your fork, but...
That's good.
Feeling good about this one.
This is a very solid meal. It can be paired with a lot of things, such as like mashed potatoes, egg noodles, rice, bread. It's meat. Meat is really good. And the sauce is very rich. I'm gonna give this like a 9 out of 10 because it's like a very solid dish. It's just that like rich things are not my favorite.
So it needs to be cut with some acid, maybe some lemon juice in there.
I don't know about lemon. I
A little white wine, maybe a little balsamic vinegar.
feel like some white wine.
Yeah. This is one of the few dishes I'm making that doesn't have wine, but if you add wine to it, white or red, it's going to improve the dish. There's absolutely no universe like that where it won't improve it.
It's very good though.
I actually take pride in the fact I was able to make it without that, and it still tastes really good.
Yeah.
It's almost like a cheat code adding white or red wine to a dish.
It's very
So you cut it with a fork.
It's
yeah.
very good with rice.
Rice.
Really good. Yeah.
We will take the 9. James, so what would make it better? You think that the wine, maybe a little balsamic vinegar?
Just the wine.
Just
That's
the
all it
wine.
needs.
I put Worcestershire sauce in here and I put sugar in it. What about more of those?
Need more Worcestershire?
More Worcestershire, right?
Yeah. 9 is very good.
I know. Thank you, buddy.
You're welcome.
All right.